the fan base has bought into what you are doing. You guys seem in lockstep. You have more draft picks right now than any other team going into this draft at last check, plus the cap room. How tempting will it be to push this rebuild, for lack of a better term, along if something presents itself that you weren't expecting? How tempting will that be? Or are you so firmly set in the plan? Because the sense I get from the fan base is, God, no, don't do that. Stay the course, it's one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen in the Toronto hockey market.
Well, people need to understand that it's not our intention to try to do this slowly. We've just simply said when these things get done, and if history serves itself, that these things tend to go slowly. But believe me, if you think we're trying to do this slowly, or if there's a good player that presents himself to us this summer or next summer, and we think he's a fit for what we see as our vision for this club, then we want to get better as soon as possible. People have misunderstood us if they think that we want to do this slowly. The fact of the matter is that's how history goes, and I think if you're going to be successful, you have to be very good at the draft, and it has to be sort of your backbone. But you just don't do this one way. You have to make good trades. You have to sign free agents. You have to do this in every way. And doing one or the other is not going to compromise, I can promise you, what we see as like a long-term vision. So our long-term vision, if you just want to say it plainly, is we want to build a team, however we get there, whenever we get there, and however it's built. We want to build a team that can have long-term success. We want to create something. Our hope is to create something here where we don't have a window of success, but we have an era of success. Right. And so I know what's happening. We'll make a trade, or we'll sign a guy, and people will say, oh, someone got to them. The pressure got to them. They were tempted. Well, yeah, we're tempted. We want to get good. We're saying it right now. If the right person presents himself and we think it's a good fit, we're going for it. We don't want to do this slowly. We're just telling people the realistic expectation is that usually these things take time.
Well, I love this young man. I disagree with him sometimes. And in this spot, I was talking to Bruce across the street, and I swear to God that sounds made up, but I was having a coffee across the street, Bruce, and he said, I'm frustrated, but I'm not angry. My old man lives in the city, has lived in the city this entire time. He goes to breakfast with guys that he...
Don't call him an old man.
he's getting up.
Call him your father.
my father and my old man, he appreciates it more than maybe you do. But he says, he's been going to breakfast with these guys for 50, 60 years, and they say, you want us to wait another 5 years. As a president and alternate governor, you can look at it as a hockey guy, and you can also look at it as the business guy. Is there ever a point where you're worried, and I say this growing up in the East End, you grew up in the West End, you grew up in Mimico. Are you ever worried about the Leafs' relevance in this market?
No. I wouldn't say I'm worried about it. But it is something that I want to protect and take very seriously. What I really believe is that worry is the wrong word. I care for the relevance, but I really do believe that there's a generation of young hockey fans who, in their lifetime, really don't know what it is to get behind the Maple Leafs. Yeah. And we've lost a generation of young people who had more than, what did we have growing up? We had the Maple Leafs, or if we had to watch Buffalo Station, oh my God, Irv Weinstein and these guys, we had to hear the dreaded Buffalo song. Yeah. But not that we ever watched them, but we had one choice when we wanted to watch a hockey game, it was the Maple Leafs. Now these kids, they can watch any game they want. So we have to earn them back. And all of these things are like noise, and you can start chasing shadows if you don't just realize what you need to do here is build a winning organization, build a winning team. And I always go back to that when we talk about, if you want to get focused on relevance or ratings or things like that, you'll get exhausted chasing the wrong things. We've got to build a good team. When you say, you think about it from a business perspective or a hockey perspective, I am 100% here from a hockey perspective, because I know when that gets fixed, it's going to cure everything else.
You want to build the winning team. We've established that. Is Nazem Kadri part of that winning team in your eyes right now?
Well, I think what he did this year was he showed that he can be. And that was, when you bring in a guy like Mike, you think about the Nazems and the Morgans and the JVRs, and you start to say, can they keep up? Because he's a demanding guy. Mike is a fan of Nazem Kadri. So, but there are no finish lines here. We don't say like, that like somebody did well and that's it. So they're good, they're in. It is constantly having to prove yourself, and it's every year. And I remember even being an aging hockey player and saying to my trainer in the summertime, this is a really big year for me. I've really got a lot to prove. And he says, you've said the same thing to me 9 years in a row, and you're 38, like you're okay. And I just thought, like, no, until the day someone pulls the stick out of your hand, you constantly have something to prove. So Nazem, I would believe it's fair to say that he's passed the first test, but there are more to come for him.
Is there a way to determine that the guys that you believe can be a part of when this team is really good are being serviced, they're being taught, is there a way to judge that? Whether the Morgan Rileys, the Jake Gardners, the young guys that can be part of the new Leafs aren't chewed up and spit out by a 30th place finish?
Well, I think that's why when you look at, there were some people when we were talking about hiring Mike Babcock, again, going back to when you have an opportunity to go get a good coach, or as you guys are saying, like, what's the temptation if you have a good player available? You go get the good coach, and you go get the good player. And some people said, including Mike, the first day I talked to him, what do you want me for? Why don't you bottom out for a while and pick high and
then come get me? Right.
So it wasn't an idiotic response, but or thought. But my response to him and to fans at the time was, we don't have time for the Morgans and the Jakes and the JVRs and the Nazems to not get coached by this man. And we can't just bury them for the next 3 years. They need to start building a foundation. So in spite of the fact that we finished in 30th place this year, I do believe that there were some foundations built within their game that they can grow upon. And so I think that is really sort of how you measure how they're improving, is just, and we've got to supplement them. We've got to find them more players. Mark Hunter's got to do his job. Lou's got to do his job. And again, like I said, so that we take all these worries away from them so that they can just play hockey.
Finally, does the president of the Toronto Maple Leafs at any point go on those NHL draft lottery simulators and see where you finish? I pray the answer is yes. I'm just picturing you at a desk for the last day. Leave me alone!
Damn it, yes. Damn it, yes.
3 in a row! Yes or no? Does Brendan Shanahan do NHL draft lottery sims?
I regretted that I've already answered this question once today, and I answered it honestly. And so I can't lie to you here. I remember it being around last year, but I didn't know it existed this year. And so about a week ago, or maybe 2, I found it and I pressed it once, and we came up and I just pushed it away and said, never again, not once.
Costanza, I'm done.
Yeah, I tossed it out. I left on a high note. I did pull the Costanza, but it's I've done it once, and look, it's I went last year. I wasn't very lucky. We'll find somebody with a little bit more luck within the organization to go to the draft lottery this year. And we all know the odds, and it's out of your control. There's nothing you can do about it. But at some point, we'll pick somewhere in the top 4, and we trust we'll get a good player.
Yeah. Brendan, we appreciate you doing this. I know it's kind of been a little testing today with a few of these interviews, but we really appreciate you stopping by and doing it.
No, I appreciate having the chance to talk with the team.